The Miami Dolphins did it. They moved off of Jake Bailey potentially by adding an upgrade to the punting position in Ryan Stonehouse. Yes, Jake Bailey's days may be numbered, and we will find out soon enough. Also, after the first week of free agency, how have the Miami Dolphins done? I'll go over the grades I've given to every move they've made so far in week 1 of 2025 NFL free agency. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new, and as always, let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. It's going over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. Appreciate all of you coming through on this midday Saturday matinee. Hey, everyone in the chat, do me the favor. Please, shout out my wife. Give her a special happy birthday. Today is her birthday. I have been under the weather this weekend. That's for real. I have been under the weather this weekend, and yeah, I have not been feeling too fantastic. I just had to take some CBD to help me feel a bit better. I'm just not feeling good. So shout out the wife. It is her birthday. Sound check in the chat. Let me know how everything is going after, that first try. It didn't go as we had all hoped it would have. That's for sure. Didn't go very well. Didn't go very well at all. So I do appreciate each and every one of you coming through, though. Thank you very much. It is Sunday. We are good to go. And listen, as you come through, please do me the favor, hit that like button, smash it as much as you can. I really need it, especially after how my friend Algorithm is going to treat me after that first attempt went sideways. So how is everyone doing this weekend? Shout out to all of you weekend warriors coming through, man. I really, truly do appreciate you, each and every one of you in the chat. And I can see all the love coming to the wife. Happy birthday, Miss Reason. Happy birthday, Mrs. Reason. Happy birthday. Shout out to the wife. Thank you all for showing some love and putting that energy in the chat right now. She just got a brand new 65-inch TV for her birthday, so she's feeling really, really good. So, all right. Shout out to all y'all. My live stream was shanked by a Jake Bailey punt. Oh, man, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Hey, man, the warm weather's it's coming up here. Man, Sydney, Australia, it is 5:30 in the morning, and they're out there showing some love in Sydney. Appreciate that, man. I really do. Getting up and spending some early time with me and Phinside The NFL. Thank y'all so much. All right. Listen, we've got a little bit to go over here. We have got some Grades I got to hand out. We got a move they made today. I was going to do this show yesterday, but I decided to wait for today. And luckily I did because, hey, they made some moves while we were waiting. So, they made a move while we were waiting. So, we're going to talk about that in depth. Also, listen, I know everyone wants us to make some more splashes out on free agency right now. Listen, don't expect anything. I would be shocked if they made a big move. I know, I wanted Nick Chubb. People want J.K. Dobbins. I don't see them adding anyone now that after they added Madison. I just don't. I don't see them adding another receiver, clearly, unless it's a low-end guy at a cheap deal. Now, the guard situation. Because I see a lot of people talking about, well, I would like this, I would like that. Becton's off the board. Okay. Brandon Sheriff, Dalton Reisner, Shaq Mason, Will Hernandez, these are guys who recently have been excelling, at right guard more so than left. Daniel Brunskill, I don't see them listen, they got James Daniels for a really, really good deal. I do not see them. I do not see them putting money out there to get anyone else. I really just don't. When they pivoted and they went ahead and they signed a guy like Liam Eichenberg, that told you everything you needed to know about where they were at. That told you everything you needed to know. They were pretty much done spending, and they didn't even spend on the upper tier guys. Now I know Dalton Reisner plays left guard and people want him, but remember, he didn't get along with Butch Berry. So I don't foresee that happening. But to my point, like Will Hernandez, Tevin Jenkins, these are right side guys. Like Brandon Sheriff's a right side guy. Like, what are we going to get? A veteran right guard and ask him to kick to left? They're not going to put a veteran guard in that position. I told all y'all, Laken Tomlinson was probably the second best option that's strictly left guard from a strictly left guard point. Like same with, I know Neil wanted Shaq Mason. Guess what? Right guard. That's just where we're at right now. That's just where the market is. It was a right guard heavy market coming in. Even the old guys like Greg Van Roten. He can play left guard, but he's primarily a right guard. So it's slim pickings out there. It really is slim pickings. It looks like you don't want to hear it, but here I am to tell you right now. If training camp started, the battle of left guard is Larry Borum and Liam Eichenberg. I just don't get why we can only go 2/5 of the way, 3/5 of the way, 4/5 of the way. Why can't we have all 5 offensive linemen be good? And then, here's a crazy thought, some good depth behind those guys. But here we are. And it's like, the cornerback position. I see a lot of people saying, well, let's go out and get Asante Samuel. Y'all think, first of all, Asante Samuel is not a very good tackler. We all saw the Green Bay game. Second of all, for the money Asante Samuel is going to be commanding, Asante Samuel is going to be commanding around $14 million a year. They're not going to go out and get an Asante Samuel. Like, look at what they did with Fuller. They're paying Ramsey already. Look at when they signed Fuller last year. They're going to want someone on the cheap. That's just where we're at. They are going to want someone on the cheap. And it goes to, James Daniels. You think they're going to pay someone more than what they paid James Daniels? You think they're going to pay someone more than $8 million a year? Not going to happen. Just like they're not going to pay someone more than Ramsey to play corner. And I don't even think they're going to invest that kind of money. It clearly looks like they're trying to avoid as many restructures as possible. It looks, I'm telling you, defensive tackle, corner, and guard, draft, baby. And that's why my first big board coming this week will be defensive tackle. Then I'll probably do guard and corner, but those will be the first 3 big boards I drop for you guys, for sure. Because that's clearly where we're trending. So, but hey, listen, they made a good move today. They moved in the right direction, in a positive direction. Ryan Stonehouse is signing with the Miami Dolphins per source. 2022 NFL punting yards leader and record breaker quickly finds a new home after the Titans made the peculiar decision to move on from him. I mean, this is a significant upgrade, people. Craig Aukerman, who has a history with him, obviously clearly came in and said, okay, yeah, I don't know what Danny Crossman was thinking with Jake Bailey, but that's not happening. Right? Because Aukerman has coached Stonehouse the last 3 seasons. In 2022 and 2023, Aukerman was coaching him. So Bailey, his money, it's about like $1.95 million, is not guaranteed for this year. And his cap hit shrinks from about $2.5 million to $500,000 if he's released. He's listen, in 2022 and 2023, he averaged an NFL high of 53.1 yards per punt. So now he came back last season. He did sustain a torn ACL and MCL in week 13 of 2023, but he came back last season and was still averaging 50.6 yards per punt, which was, I believe that was about like 3rd in the league, if I remember correctly. But just to put it in perspective, all right? So in 2022, Stonehouse averaged about 53.1 yards per punt. In 2023, about 53.1 again. In 2024, 50.6. Jake Bailey in 2022 averaged 42.1 yards per punt. In 2023, 45.7. And in 2024, 47.1. So I expect Stonehouse to get back to that 53-ish yard level. And we are talking about a minimum difference of about 6 yards. This is a guy who, he's got one of the strongest legs in the NFL. He's a boomer. Is he the punt god Matt Araiza? No, probably not quite. But we're talking about one of the guys with one of the strongest legs out there. He is a complete and utter stud. Stud. So, yeah. I mean, I think this is a very, very good move. I think this is a much needed move. All right, with what we've had with Jake Bailey. I mean, how many 30-yard punts has this guy had? It's, one of them, like, I know we all sit here and we talk about Liam Eichenberg, but Jake Bailey was another one of those players where we're like, how is this guy continuing to get by with mediocre results? How is this guy continuing to get a pass? And it came down to what we all thought it was. Danny Crossman. He wasn't a good, listen, I told you guys, he's gone now. I told you guys, I had it in the Patreon update. Speaking of, the Patreon update that I said would come Friday or Saturday, it'll come tonight. I'm feeling a little bit better. So it'll come tonight. All right? So I want to say that. But in the Patreon updates that I've had in the past, one of the times I said that in speaking to an NFL, coordinator who played the Dolphins last year, not only were they shocked that the offensive line wasn't upgraded, but they were shocked that Danny Crossman still had a job. I was basically told that Danny Crossman's a high school coach. Like that's what other people's opinions around the league of him were. This guy is a high school coach. He's not good. But I've gone back to this. We go back to that country club atmosphere and vibe, right? Like Boyer and Crossman were not moved off of right away when Flores was sent packing. Why? Because behind the scenes in the political game, they had turned on Flores and they were siding with Greer and Garfinkel, so they're all buddies. So when McDaniel came in, they made him hold over Boyer and Crossman. Remember, McDaniel wanted Fangio right away from year one. He didn't want to wait till year two. He wanted him in year one. But he was told, no, you got to hold them over. Just like he was told you got to hold over Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg, etc., etc. Right? Like, it's I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting to me. But I know a lot of people are going to be asking what the holding situation is probably going to be, because now Jason Sanders, he's going to be back to kicking in 2025 with a new holder. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know how good of a holder he is. I haven't looked into that. But now Jason Sanders, and with a new special teams coordinator, Jason Sanders can't afford any FUBAR moments. He literally just cannot. There's no other way around it. Jason Sanders needs to be good this year, or he'll probably be following Jake Bailey out the door. So I don't know how good of a holder Ryan Stonehouse is, but I do know we are about to find out. And like when I was coming up, the backup, the second string or the third string quarterback was the holder. This punter being the holder for every team, that's more of a recent thing. Now, I get it too, right? You don't want something to go wrong and your backup quarterback gets hurt. So, I mean, I get that. You know what I mean? So, it's the same thing as a long snapper and a center, right? Usually they're two different people. So, listen, I think this is a good move. Yeah, the one thing about downside about Stonehouse is, he has been blocked a little bit more frequently than you would like. But do you put that on Stonehouse or do you put that on the Titans and the line in front of him? And I would like him to bring that touchback rate down just a little bit. But other than that, I mean, we've added a guy who he can help you tilt the field a little bit. Who we're not going to be giving, a drive doesn't go our way and all of a sudden Bailey comes out and gives the opponents a short field. So, listen, I will take this upgrade. It's the same thing where, you know what? I didn't like the Larry Borum signing. But before they signed Liam, I was like, okay, well, at least they're trying something different than Liam Eichenberg. And then, of course, they went around and brought back Liam Eichenberg. But this is the type of effort we wanted to see. I mean, like, let's be real here. At least we're seeing an effort. And yeah, it took a new set of eyes coming into the special teams room. But at least we saw an effort. And hey, you know what? I will take it. And maybe the reason why you drafted Nick Westbrook-Ikea is because of Ackerman too. And if that was because of him, hey, man. Good eyes. And you're bringing some bodies to this team that we need. So, yeah, I'm a fan. So, let's talk about free agency a little bit. Let's get into my grades for free agency. We've already done about a week of free agency. A lot of moves have happened. And I think it's time that we get into how I see all the moves the Miami Dolphins made from a grading standpoint. So, without further ado, let's get into 2025 Miami Dolphins first week of free agency grades. Now, the first thing I want to point out is tendered players are not included. So like Kader Kohu, Keon Smith, Cameron Good, they are not included in here, okay? So, let's start off at the top. James Daniels, I gave it an A. The reason why I gave it not an A+, he's coming off an Achilles tear. That leaves an unknown to this situation. If it was, there was no unknown to this situation and he was fully healthy, it would be an A+. But at the same time, would he even be a Miami Dolphin? Because they would have had to fork out a lot more than $8 million a year. So I think they brought in a legitimate right guard option, a damn good run blocker who can hold his own in pass pro. I love this move. He was in the top 10 of my top 30 free agents the Miami Dolphins should target. So I'm a fan of this move. You are not going to hear anything negative other than the injury concern about James Daniels with me. All right? Number 2, signing Ryan Stonehouse. Yeah, I got this as an A as well. Again, A+ would have been if he wasn't coming off of a ACL and MCL injury, last year where he returned and his punt average went down about 3 yards. If he didn't have the ACL and MCL injury in 2023, played again last year and was still kicking around 53.1, it would be an A+. But again, that little injury asterisk comes with it, so I even out an A. But this is a massive upgrade to special teams, so I got to give it an A. Signing Nick Westbrook. Listen, Ikena. Ikena, my bad. Signing Nick Westbrook, Ikena. So I give that a B+. I think they added a legit number 3 wide receiver who's super efficient, right? I mean, if you put up 500 yards with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph and 9 touchdowns, what could you do as a number 3 with Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins in Mike McDaniel's offense? If that doesn't intrigue you, I don't know what does. But I look at it as Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Nick Westbrook, and obviously Malik Washington as your top 4. And I think you got something there. Now, obviously, we don't know what Tajay Washington is yet. So we've still got questions that need to be answered on that. But I think by adding a Nick Westbrook, Ikena, I think you've done a good job to that wide receiver room. And you put yourself in a position where you don't have to take a receiver in the first 3 rounds. You could take a receiver if the right guy falls in your lap in the 4th or 5th. Especially when you got other needs at guard, depth, linebacker potentially, cornerback, safety. I mean, it's just putting yourself in a position. Re-signing Tyrell Dodson, I gave that a B. Now, I think he's a fringe LB2, LB3 guy. I've said this before. I don't think he's a solid linebacker 2. I don't think he's a solid linebacker 3. I think he's a fringe guy. So I like it. He's a little proven. He was a little streaky when he came here last year. He's a little up and down. Had a strong finish to the season. But, you're bringing back familiarity. You're keeping that linebacking core intact. Now, obviously, behind it with KJ Britt, we'll talk about him. And there's just not once you get past those top 3, there's a lot of question marks. Ashton Davis, I gave this a B-. A little higher than the Melifonwu signing. And that's kind of, I might be a little biased, but I'm a huge Ashton Davis fan. I loved him coming out of Cal. All right. I was a big fan of him coming out of Cal. I thought he had the potential to be a really good safety. And I just don't think he's gotten good coaching. I think, he's also been injured a little bit, but I think between being banged up and bad coaching, that's what hasn't, especially injuries, haven't allowed him to take the reins over in New York. And now you got a guy who gets a fresh start and a fresh new opportunity to basically reprove himself. He's going to see his old team twice a year. I think under Anthony Weaver, if he's going to reach his potential, it's going to be under Anthony Weaver. That's what I believe. Now, continuing with safety, Ifeatu Melifonwu, I gave that a C+. Listen, I could have gave it a B- as well, but I let my little, college tape bias from Cal, come into it here. But, I will also say this. I think this potential signing, it has a high ceiling. I look at Daniels. I look at, Ashton Davis, who we just talked about. I look at Nick Westbrook, Ikena. I look at Melifonwu. These grades have potential to be higher. Let me put it that way. So does a Eskridge too. But Melifonwu, this, again, it's the same thing. Are injuries going to hold him back from really getting a lock on the starting job? You got Patrick McMorris, and you've also got Elijah Campbell in the mix. Is this going to stop you? Are injuries going to hold you back? Because I'm going to tell you this. If Ashton Davis and Melifonwu stay healthy, you've got potentially a really underrated safety duo. But it's a matter of if they're going to stay healthy. If these guys stay healthy, these could end up being B+ or A signings at the end of the year. But, man, the ceiling. Behind them, I have KJ Britt. I gave that a C+. I felt like this was basically swapping Anthony Walker out for KJ Britt. Really good in run support. Not going to offer you a ton in coverage. Still a young player, though. That's why I'm high on this and giving it a C+. He's only about 25. That is still a young player with some time in the game ahead of him. So, I'm a fan. 25 years old, really good in run support. Hopefully he can get better in coverage. I like it. Eskridge, bringing back the familiarity. We saw he had a few plays last year where he showed that speed, he showed that explosiveness, and he's got another year to build off that, and he's got now a training camp to get even more familiar with Tua and the quarterbacks and the system and the offense around him. I like this because I think this is another potential, give me a Malik Washington and Eskridge return battle in training camp. Behind them, I got Elijah Campbell at C, very status quo. They like him. They like his upside. He can contribute on special teams. Not really much to add there. Farrell Brown, this is a C. This is a Durham Smythe replacement, right? You've added an inline Y guy who you can trust to block. Is he going to offer you much after the catch or at the catch point? No. He's a bigger body for the red zone, I guess, but I'm not looking for this guy to offer you very much as a receiver. Where I'm looking for him to contribute is as a sixth lineman and inline. So that's a C. Larry Borum. I was actually originally lower on this, and I ended up with a C. And the reason why I ended up with a C on this is because I was told very specifically, go back and watch the Bills game from 2022 where he played left guard. So I know there's a plan and there's a vision for him. You know, I know they have a plan and I know they have a vision for him. He is going to be in that left guard battle. I do think he's going to be a better fit at guard than he is tackle, but let me put it this way. I wouldn't want him or Eichenberg starting. Re-signing Quentin Bell, I gave that a C-. I mean, yeah, you're bringing back a familiar guy to Anthony Weaver and all of that. I mean, cool, I guess. But yeah, I feel like this. Here's where I'm at with him. He feels like nothing more than a camp body. Like, that's what he feels like to me. That's what he feels like legitimately is a camp body. So, you know, all that hype for him to be a contributor last year, and he basically didn't contribute very much at all. I was not a huge fan of the hype coming out of training camp was much more than the results we got from him. So Quentin Bell, that's a guy to watch who is even going to make it out of camp depending on how the draft goes. And now everyone's healthy. So sticking with the C-, Alexander Mattison. Yeah, I get they wanted him for short yardage, but really, Alexander Madison's the answer. I'm not a huge fan of Alexander Mattison. I'm not. Haven't been for a while. Listen. Jordan Mason got traded to the Vikings. All right? And you look at what Jordan Mason got traded for. Now, Jordan Mason probably obviously wants, more of a prominent role, and we're looking for a third guy, so I get that. But Minnesota sent a 2026 sixth-round pick and pick number 160 this year for Mason, and they got pick 187 back. So they dropped back 27 spots, got rid of a sixth-round pick, and got Jordan Mason, who was very effective last year. Very effective last year filling in for Christian McCaffrey. I don't know, man. Alexander Mattison, I'm just not that big of a fan. I think Raheem Mostert's better than Alexander Mattison. And you basically swapped. So, but I get it. Moser probably didn't want to return because his role is going to be diminished. But Madison's not very good. Signing Zach Wilson, I gave it a D. Okay, you got potential here. If you can get him to play in structure and be effective from in structure. But what are the chances of that happening? Like, let's be real here. What are the chances of you getting him able to perform in structure? What are the chances of him becoming a better quarterback in Miami than we've seen the last few years? Probably not high. Probably not high at all. I don't have the biggest faith in the world. But, hey, they're trying to sell me it. They're trying to sell me it, so I guess that's cool. I don't know. I not a massive fan of the Zach Wilson. I don't like the money they gave him either. I've been pretty adamant about this. I don't like the money they gave him. That's just how I feel about the situation. So I don't know. That's I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of adding Zach Wilson. I just $6 million. They made him one of the top paid backups in the NFL. Incentives to get to 10 million, all 6 million guaranteed. I think we were crazy with what we did. So, yeah. Jackson Carman. That's a D minus. And Matt Dickerson's a D. I don't expect him to be. That's a camp body. Jackson Carman's a D minus. He was a disaster when he had to start last year. He was an utter disaster for the Miami Dolphins. Like, I don't even understand bringing him back. Like, Jackson Carman, I was just being polite and didn't give you an F. And then you brought back Liam Eichenberg, and I had to pull out the F. Yeah, I gave Liam Eichenberg an F. The Liam Eichenberg signing was terrible. Both Jackson, they told us they were going to address the offensive line. Look at this first week. James Daniels, you knock it out of the park. But then you decide to follow James Daniels up with Larry Borum, Jackson Carman, and Liam Eichenberg. And we're supposed to take you seriously. Because especially at least Larry Borum, you could say, okay, he's new blood. We want to see what we can do with him. We think the Chicago staff wasn't good enough, blah, 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 blah. What's your excuse with Liam Eichenberg and Jackson Carman? You guys had them last year. You've had Eichenberg for years. Again, this goes back to the fact that you can't sit there and tell me there isn't a conflict going on between Mike McDaniel and Chris Green. There's some philosophical conflict going on. You look at James Daniels, you look at Aaron Brewer, you look at Connor Williams, you look at Terron Armstead, and they do not match the profile of guys like Liam Eichenberg, who you brought back, or Chasen Hines, who you brought in, or even Patrick Paul, who you drafted. They do not match up. Something's going on here. I don't know what it is. But we literally have contrasting athletic linemen, and it's crazy. And I see someone, you're talking about 8, 9, 10 linemen relax reason. No, I'm not going to relax, because let's look at this list. James Daniels, coming off an Achilles tear. Austin Jackson can never stay healthy. Terron Armstead, hurt every year. We don't know what the answer is at left guard yet right now. That sounds like a recipe to Liam Eichenberg playing meaningful snaps this season. How do I give an A for an Achilles injury? Because of the player. He's one of the best run blocking right guards. It would have been A+ if he didn't have the Achilles injury. I explained that. So you line up everything, and it sounds like Liam Eichenberg's going to play snaps. Him or Borum are going to play snaps this year. Get ready. So that's how I grade each signing. Now, in regards to an overall grade, here is how I see this. Look I took all the grades. I put them into a grade calculator. And this is the grade that the grade calculator came up with. All right? It came up with a C. So if I add all those grades up and I calculate it, this is what we get. We get a C. And that feels about right. That feels about right. I'm not gonna lie. C feels when I look at how this is, yeah, I feel like this is about right. average. Not bad, not terrible. Average. They got off to the right start. I mean, Nick Westbrook, Keon, and James Daniels got you off to the right start. So, listen, I'm not going to rake them over the coals. I agree. I want the offensive line to be better. I agree. I want a running mate with Seiler. I agree. I want that cornerback room figured out. I agree. I don't want the only veterans in that safety room with starting caliber to be, a wind gust away from breaking their arm. I agree. But hey, we got to hope they address some of this in the draft. But this is where I stand in free agency so far after 1 week. After 1 week, I'm standing with a C. So, listen, I would go out at this point, sign Isaiah Wynn. He's going to be cheap. He's, even if he's, without giving how injury prone he is, a lot of us feel more comfortable with him than we do with Borum or Eichenberg. That's for sure. So, yeah, it's, yeah, but listen, you can double dip in defensive line, offensive line, and cornerback, but brother, do the math. We only have 3 picks in the top 100. Think about this. 13, 48, and 98. Why do you think I've been saying for months now we need more picks? What do you expect them to really address with only 3 picks in the top 100? Think about that. What do you really expect them to address? Your best case scenario, you get 3 starters out of it. And then what positions are they? You get Will Johnson. Okay, you got corner figured out. You come back at 48. What do you take, a guard or a defensive tackle? And then whichever one you don't take, you come back to a 98. It's going to be dwindled down a little bit, especially if it's guard. So, it's just, I don't know. Like, I've said this. The best strategy right now is you could double dip at defensive tackle, probably the easiest, right? Like, that's probably the easiest one to double dip at. But then if you do, you're probably going to want to make 13 and 48 another position, 2 other positions. Like, I wouldn't double dip at defensive tackle at like 13 or 48 and then come back at 98 and 116. Like, it's, I don't know. That's a dangerous path. So you still need more bodies added here. I know the second wave of free agency is coming, but it is slim pickings. Like I've stated to you guys, a lot of the guards are primarily right guards. What are you going to kick him to left guard? A lot of the veterans. The corner market is like thinned out. Linebacker market thinned out. So I know what they're doing. They're praying Calais comes back and they get a defensive tackle with one of those first 3 picks, and then they're going to think they're set. But it's going to be a real wrench in their plans if Calais says, you know what, boys, I'm done. So, no, James Daniels is going to be your right guard. They're not going to kick him to the left side. He's your right guard. That's where he's strongest. So, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. We still got the draft. That's why I can't, like, I could sit here and answer, is the roster improved after free agency? That's a loaded question. I think we've moved. Okay, obviously James Daniels is an upgrade over what we had at right guard, but there's a hole at left guard, right? I think Nick Westbrook's going to be better than OBJ, so I think we got better at receiver. Tight end, I mean, they canceled each other out, basically. You know, we're a little bit weaker on the interior without Calais and the rotation we had. That's for sure. Edge, we should be stronger with the bodies we have coming back. Linebacker, status quo. Corner, we need a cornerback too. And safety, Davis and Melifonwu can be better than what we had, only if they stay healthy. So smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And I will be back on the next one. Fins up.